Okay guys, just a little bit of feedback on the synthesis task I gave you last week. As you know, I've only got 15 minutes, so this is going to have to be fast. So let's take a look at this first one. In modern society, globalization became. I think this would be better as has become, because this is talking about something that started in the past and continues until now. According to literature, including 4 sources, this doesn't make any sense to the reader. They don't really know what you're talking about here. Even though I know you had 4 sources, but you don't need to say that. Globalization, created is the wrong word here. Better to say has had. Lots of is not academic style. And is not good for linking these 2 sentences. This article, what is this article? You haven't introduced any article yet. No matter in which area, you haven't actually pointed out any areas yet, so it doesn't really make much sense. The book, Elwood, using the suggests you've already mentioned something. It's better just to say Elwood. Elwood is the writer. Don't refer to the book, refer to the writer. In is the wrong word here. Wrong word form, not technology but technological. As a result of this, your syntax is wrong here. Globalization hasn't made multinational corporations break through trade barriers. Other things cause that to happen, and globalization is the kind of consequence of that. So I think the cause and effect is wrong there. Would reduce. This is a kind of second conditional. You can use simple present. Can be reduced. Plenty of merits. Too casual again. What new communication channels? You haven't mentioned what these are. When you use these, we assume you've already mentioned what it is you're talking about. Breakaway gap doesn't make any sense. Wrong word, I think. A good role in that. What is that describing? Doesn't quite make sense. Therefore is not a good link here. You can use it without introducing ransom, but better to say it can be argued, therefore, that globalization can be a positive force for change, and then use ransom here. That makes more sense. But if you use therefore a study by ransom, it doesn't make sense. Disadvantage in developing process of what? I think what you're trying to say is ransom also argues that globalization has a variety of disadvantages. Due to the rapid development of globalization, the gap between rich and poor has increased. The right to highly concentrated doesn't make sense. In the hands of wealthy people. The No Nonsense Guide to Globalization is the name of a book, not the name of a writer, so you should use the writer here, not the name of the book. The names of the book all go in the bibliography. You only need to mention the name of a book when the book is particularly famous, and it's important for us to know what the book is. Solving these problems, or in solving these problems, there is a key to the political doesn't make sense. Combine with structural reforms and rebuild the employment and rights of the human, which is the core of the economy. Hmm. Rebuild employment and rights, which is core of the economy. Whose economy? Which economy? Capital control and ecological environment can be reconstructed in this condition. Capital control, we're talking about finance. Ecological environment, we're talking about the environment. Can be constructed in this condition of rebuilding employment. This doesn't really make any sense. It sounds academic, but it doesn't really tell us what you're trying to say clearly. So try to avoid such unclear writing. What's good about this is that you have managed to reference, and you've managed to use referencing words, but you haven't managed to tell the message in a way that somebody who doesn't know the original reading can really understand. So try to be careful of meaning, trying to transmit accurate meaning. But in terms of synthesis, this is good. Now let's have a look at the next one. Okay, fair enough. No the. Flexibility of capital, what do you mean by that? I mean, generally when we're talking about capital, we're talking about money and resources. So what is the flexibility of money and resources? Doesn't really make sense by itself. Affordable transport and rise of digital communication, okay. Okay, it's a good introduction, except for this flexibility of capital. A little bit more information. Like it's easy to send money from one place to another. Normally we talk about the liquidity of capital. Liquidity means it can easily be turned into money and sent somewhere, or banked, or exchanged. Among those positive parts of globalization, okay, not bad. Grammatically correct. The meaning is a little strange. Okay, good, but we don't need in the New Internationalist here. And the second time you mention somebody, you don't need to mention the name and the date again. You can just say, I bid. Okay, I'm just going to focus on referencing from now on. Otherwise, I'll be here all day. So, this is not correct. Okay, this is a good link. These are similar to Opinions of Elwood. Good. Alright, so this is quite a successful synthesis because it mainly makes sense, but you've got a few problems with your referencing. Ransom is the author. You don't need the book or the original source. Okay, next. Good use of quote, page number good. And you've synthesized with another source, that's good, but what do you mean by as the results came in? Results are like exam results or results of a race or something like that, or of the World Cup. But you've used the results, suggesting we know which results you're talking about, which we don't. Facts cannot declare anything. Only people can declare something. Ransom stated, good. Both Ransom and Elwood declared. Declared is not so good when you're putting two authors together. I think maybe point out that globalization is an unequal process, wrong form of the word here. Said is not the best reporting word here. Okay. Overall, that looks quite good. You've managed to synthesize, well done. Okay, this looks like plagiarism because that was in my example. Now, from is the wrong word here, you'd need since. has been regarded, because we're talking about from then until now. Okay, you've got your reference here, you need a space here, as has been pointed out in your peer feedback. Remember to take your feedback into account. According to Ransom, good. Ransom, Elwood. This view is supported by Ransom, good. You're showing the views together, well done. Okay, this synthesis is successful. I'm sure there are some problems, but we don't really have time to go into the grammar right now. We're just checking the synthesis. Okay, so we've got Elwood and Longman here. So above, we need something that both Elwood and Longman agree on. We shouldn't have anything that one of them doesn't agree on here. I think that's pretty much the size of both their definitions, so fair enough. Plenty is not academic style. Okay, good. If you're going to use a quote here, you might also need the page. If it's the same page, that's fair enough, but if it's a different page, you need to have it there. Okay, again, looks like a good... Some has been collapsed. Some environments have collapsed. Some environments have collapsed. What is some you're talking about here? Be more precise. Be careful with forward and backward referencing, that we know what it is you're referencing. Okay, but broadly speaking, that is a good synthesis. Okay, moving on. Okay, this one has only got two sources. I don't remember Verso as a source. So this one doesn't have enough references to be a successful synthesis. So you might want to try that one again. Okay, we've got some synthesis here. Ransom. Be careful with dates, because if you get the date wrong, 1977, you'd actually be guilty of plagiarism. So be careful with that. Elwood in his book, The No-Nonsense Guide to Globalization, it's okay to mention the book, but you only need to mention the book if you need to mention the book. So it depends on need here. As you've already mentioned him before, it seems strange that you just mentioned the book here. Globalization is a new world economy to work as a cluster which convinces a big entrepreneur to do the same business all over the world. Globalization cannot convince anybody, so there's some major problems with this sentence. It doesn't really make sense. I kind of get what you're trying to say, but globalization cannot convince big entrepreneurs. It's too imprecise. And it's not just computer technology that has increased globalization. I think it's increased the pace of globalization, but globalization has been happening for a long time without computers. So you've actually taken the wrong meaning for the quote here. So I don't think that this part is very successful. Try again. Therefore is not a good link here. Therefore is a conclusion to an argument. So therefore is not a good point here. Moreover is not a good link. Food is an example of the benefits of globalization. So very poor linking here. Try this bit again. I don't think traditional culture can be abolished. Abolished is a very strong word. It means to be totally banned. So try again with that word. Is it above all? And you've got a capital letter here. Is it above all it creates inequality in the economy? I think you've got a problem with meaning here. These negative aspects, what's your cohesion? Okay, this is not necessary at all. You should just reference